It is recommended to write lot of verses. Frankly, I've never liked Urdu mainly for the fact that you have to remember a lot of author's name. Make sure that the author's name are at your fingertips. Writing essays is all about creativity. For me, learner was my go-through. Hey guys, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nimra and today we're going to talk about FSc. Let's start with the most easiest subject, which is PS, Pakistan Studies. You only have to study this subject in second year, so if you are first year student, skip this and watch the remaining video. I was the first batch to give exam from the new book, so I can only guide you what I did to get full marks in Pakistan Studies with no idea of paper scheme as well as past papers. There are total 6 chapters in Pakistan Studies. The last chapter is about sports and games. It has a lot of players' name and dates, so that's why this chapter is very important for MCQs. But don't get overwhelmed by all the dates. Just try to remember important dates as much as you can and leave the remaining. But do make sure that you solve the exercise MCQs because most of the MCQs are going to come from that. For short questions, again, exercise MCQs are very important. But if you want to attempt extra short questions, then you should read the whole chapter. I would recommend you to do first 3 chapters of Pakistan Studies more thoroughly for long questions. It means that you should study exercise long questions as well as whole chapter. But for the remaining chapter, you can just do the exercise long questions and I think you'll be good to go. Pakistan Studies is a very easy subject. It's super easy to get full marks in this subject. This is for first year students. Islamiyat is super easy for Hafiza because it is recommended to write lot of verses of the Holy Quran. You will get 2 types of teachers in Islamiyat. One will give you a lot of notes that you won't be able to read thoroughly throughout the whole year, and the other, if you're lucky like me, you will get a teacher who will make sure that you write the questions in the classroom while she's reading the notes out loud. If you are one of the unlucky ones, I would suggest you to make your own note. There are a lot of ayat, verses of Holy Quran in the Islamiyat book. If you are unable to remember all of these, I would suggest you to at least remember the translation because translation is just as important as the Arabic. And for short questions, I don't think there's any easy way. So I'm pretty sure that you have to do the whole book. But short questions are pretty easy. Let's see my presentation of Islamiyat and Pakistan Studies. This is my presentation of Pakistan Studies. These are short questions. For long questions, I would advise you कि आप लोग ज़रूर अशआर वगैरह लिखें इस PS में. This is the presentation of Islamiyat. Frankly, I've never liked Urdu mainly for the fact that you have to remember a lot of author's name. And this brings me to my next point, which is make sure that the author's name are at your fingertips. For this, I would suggest you to write all the author's name on a page and read it daily before going to college or during the break. Basically, any time of the day, make sure to read it daily. This will help you a lot in remembering all these names. This is the pattern of Urdu I used to follow. As you can see, I have written how many pages you're supposed to write of particular thing like essays, stories, khalasa, etc. For essays and whatever the substitute is, in first year, I would suggest you to read past papers and practice the most repeated essays. Other than that, I don't think there's much that you can do about it. Mostly it's a hit or miss situation because writing essays is all about creativity. Make sure to practice creativity. Really? Creativity in essays? Yes. Even creativity requires practice. Now let's talk about English, my favorite subject. In English, there are a lot of chapters and plays, etc. that you have to do, but it's easy once you give a lot of tests. For essays or stories, etc., I would advise you to again check the past papers and make sure to practice repeated essays and short questions. I would also advise you to make your own essays in order to stand out among your peers. For this, I would suggest you to check out Learners as well as Sunshine. For me, Learner was my go-through, especially for short questions and MCQ. For short questions, you will have to put a lot of effort and you will have to solve excess short questions and extra short questions as well as MCQ. So basically, you have to read the whole Learner. Remember, in English, the grammar part can be a hit or miss, but your textbook is very important. I will suggest you to put a lot of efforts in your short questions and MCQs. A little tip. If you have seen my previous video, then you have noticed that I have told you many times to make sure to highlight your paper. If If you haven't, then you can check this video out. The same thing is followed in Urdu as well as English. In Urdu, I would suggest you to highlight the character's name as well as some locations, or even I remember there were some particular amount mentioned in the chapters. So I would suggest you to highlight those in Khulasa. And in English, I would suggest you again to highlight character's name and location as well as dates. Like for example, in Mr. Chips, there were a lot of dates as far as I remember. So make sure to highlight them in your paper. Now let's see my presentation of English. Let's start with the most easiest subject, which is FSc. First three chapters of Pakistan Studies. As you can see, I have written the pages. As you can see, I've written the pages. As you can see, for seriously. Okay. आ गया यार, रात 2 गई है यार, बच्चों को घर बैठाए कोई, हमें क्यों रो रहा है। ये मक्खी मेरे पीछे पड़ी हुई है उस दिन से। In all the subjects, same tips and tricks are used, which I have already studied in my previous video. So make sure to check that out, I guess. But I think this is the best I can tell you about it. Most of the time, you just have to follow the textbook and just practice as much as you can. Believe in God, believe in yourself, and hopefully you'll be able to get good marks. So guys, I think this is it. And I hope you guys like this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to see you next week. Allah Hafiz.